I used to think I knew exactly who broke my family. I had a name. Daniel Carter. For 15 years, whenever someone asked about my daughter's father, I gave the same answer. He left. 2 words. Simple. Clean. A little too clean if I'm being honest. Real life is usually messy. Real life leaves dishes in the sink, laundry on the couch, and half-finished conversations sitting around like unpaid bills. But my version of Daniel was simple. He was the man who walked away. The man who missed birthdays. The man who wasn't there when Olivia learned to ride a bike. The man who didn't stand beside me when I was trying to raise a toddler while working full-time and pretending I wasn't falling apart. At least, that was the story I had carried. Until my 17-year-old daughter climbed into our attic and found a letter that made me question everything. It happened on a Saturday morning when we were cleaning out my childhood home before putting it on the market. The attic was a disaster, not a cute old memories in boxes kind of disaster. A real disaster. Dust everywhere, Christmas decorations from 2009. A broken lamp I kept because I was convinced one day I would fix it. I never fixed it. Apparently, I had a very emotional relationship with broken objects. Olivia was up there looking for old photo albums when I heard her yell. "Mom?" Not a normal, "Mom, where are the scissors?" yell, a serious one. I climbed the stairs and found her sitting on the dusty floor with a small wooden box in her lap. What happened? She didn't answer immediately. That scared me. Olivia was not a quiet person. She had inherited my ability to have an opinion about literally everything. The weather, restaurant portions, why people over 40 still used Facebook, especially that last one. She held up the box. Was this Dad's? I froze. The box had Daniel's handwriting on it. I knew it instantly. That annoyed me more than I expected. 15 years later, I still recognized his handwriting. Some things leave your life but refuse to leave your memory. What's inside? She opened it. Photos. A hospital bracelet, an old birthday card, and a folded envelope. Her fingers stopped. "Mom." I looked at her. "What?" She turned the letter over. On the front were 4 words, for Olivia. When she's old enough. My chest tightened. Daniel wrote that. Not to me. To her. My daughter opened the letter carefully. I wanted to stop her. I don't know why. Maybe because some doors are easier to keep closed when you know there's a chance something painful is behind them. She read the first few lines. Then her face changed. Not angry. Confused. That was worse. What did it say? She looked at me. "Mom, why did Dad write that he never abandoned me?" I felt the air leave the room. Because suddenly the story I had repeated for 15 years had a problem. I was not sure it was the truth anymore. And the person holding the evidence was my daughter. The one person I had spent my entire life trying to protect. I didn't answer Olivia right away. Not because I didn't have an answer. Because I had too many. That was the strange thing about secrets. You always imagine the truth will arrive like a dramatic movie scene. Someone walks through the door, someone confesses, someone throws a glass against a wall. Real life is much quieter. Sometimes the truth shows up covered in attic dust, sitting in your daughter's hands while you're wearing old sweatpants you promised yourself nobody would ever see outside the house. Unfortunately, Olivia had already seen them. Teenagers are brutal that way. "Mom?" I blinked. "Yeah?" "Did Dad write this before he left?" I looked at the letter. The envelope suddenly felt heavier than paper should be. "Yes." "Then why would he say he didn't abandon me?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. And that scared me, because for years I had been ready with answers. Your dad loved you. Your dad made his choice. Your dad wasn't ready. Your dad hurt us. But now my daughter was asking the one question I had never allowed myself to ask. What if I was wrong? "Olivia, there are things you don't understand about what happened." She looked down. Because I was little. The way she said it hurt. Not angry, just tired. "I was too, Mom." "I know." "No, you know my age. You don't know what it felt like." That sentence stayed with me. Because she was right. I knew the photographs. I knew the birthdays. I knew the empty chair at school events. But I didn't know what it felt like to be a child wondering why another child had a dad who showed up and she didn't. I sat beside her on the attic floor. Dust covered my jeans. I would normally complain about that. I once spent 20 minutes vacuuming because a single popcorn kernel was bothering me. Maya, my best friend, called that the most Emily thing ever. But that morning, I didn't care about the dust. I cared about the fact that my daughter was looking at me like I was holding a missing piece of her childhood. "Can I read the rest?" she asked. I hesitated. That hesitation told her more than my words could. "Mom, I'm not hiding anything." "Then why do you look scared?" I looked away. Because I was scared. Not of Daniel, not of the letter. I was scared of losing my place in my daughter's story. For 15 years, I had been the person who stayed. The person who packed lunches, the person who stayed up with fevers. The person who sat through school plays where Olivia forgot half her lines and waved at me anyway. I was her safe place. But what happens when the safe place is built on a version of the truth? "I want to read it too," I finally said. Olivia handed me the letter. The paper was old and slightly yellow. Daniel's handwriting was still the same. Neat. Annoyingly neat. Even his handwriting looked more organized than my entire kitchen drawer. The first line stopped me. "Olivia, if you ever read this, I need you to know one thing." I kept reading. "I did not leave because I stopped loving you." My fingers tightened around the paper. And underneath that sentence was another one that made my heart start beating differently. "I left because someone I trusted gave me a choice no father should ever have to make." I looked at Olivia. She looked back at me. And for the first time in 15 years, we were both strangers to the same story. I read that sentence 3 times, not because I couldn't understand the words, because I didn't want to understand them. "I left because someone I trusted gave me a choice no father should ever have to make." That was not the sentence of a man who simply packed a bag and disappeared. That was the sentence of a man who believed he had a reason. And I hated that. I hated that a piece of paper from 15 years ago could walk into my kitchen and start rearranging everything I thought I knew. Olivia sat beside me, completely focused on the letter. I looked at her face. The same serious expression she had when she was 5 years old and trying to figure out why her toy wouldn't work. Back then, she took apart a stuffed animal because she thought the batteries were inside. They were not. It was a stuffed rabbit. No batteries, just a very confused child and a rabbit that never recovered emotionally. "You're smiling," Olivia said. I immediately stopped. "I'm not." "You are. I'm thinking." "You were smiling while thinking. Your father used to do that." The words came out before I could stop them. Olivia looked up. "Dad?" I nodded slowly. "He used to smile when he was trying to solve something." She looked back at the letter. "You miss him?" That question was unfair. Not because it was cruel, because it was honest. I looked down at my hands. "I miss who I thought he was." Olivia was quiet. Then she said something I didn't expect. "What if you were wrong about him?" A 17-year-old should not have to ask her mother that. That thought hit me harder than anything else. I had spent years protecting Olivia from pain, but maybe I had accidentally protected her from the truth too. Later that afternoon, I called Maya. She answered on the second ring. "If this is about the attic, I already knew something dramatic would happen. No one goes into an attic in a family story and finds holiday decorations. That's not how life works." I found Daniel's letter. Silence. Maya stopped joking. "What kind of letter?" "The kind that makes me question everything." She came over 20 minutes later. Maya never walked slowly. She moved through life like she was always 5 minutes late to something important. She read the letter at my kitchen table. Then she put it down. "Emily?" "I know." "No, listen." She pointed at the page. "This doesn't sound like a goodbye letter." "Then what does it sound like?" "A person explaining something they were forced to hide." I looked away. "I spent 15 years thinking he abandoned us." Maya softened. "You did what you had to do." "Did I?" She didn't answer. That hurt more than if she had. Because sometimes silence from a friend is worse than disagreement. It means they are searching for the truth too. That night, Olivia asked me if she could see Daniel. I almost said no. Not because I wanted to punish him, because I was afraid. Afraid that if Olivia looked at him and saw a good father, she would wonder why I had never seen him that way. But then I remembered something important. This was not about protecting my feelings. It was about giving my daughter the truth she deserved. So I picked up my phone. I found Daniel's number. I stared at it for almost a full minute. 15 years. 15 years since I had heard his voice. Then I pressed call. He answered after 3 rings. "Emily?" Just hearing him say my name made something inside me crack. Olivia found the letter. There was silence. A long one. Then Daniel whispered, I wondered when that day would come. I sat down. Because that answer scared me. You knew she would find it? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? His voice became quiet, because I thought you would never believe me. And the worst part was, I didn't know if he was wrong. I almost canceled the meeting. That was my first instinct. Not because I didn't want answers. Because answers are dangerous. A lie can hurt you, but at least you know where you stand. The truth has a way of walking into your house, sitting at your kitchen table, and asking you to rearrange the furniture. Daniel wanted to meet at a small coffee shop near the river. The kind of place where people brought laptops, expensive water bottles, and the confidence of someone who definitely owned a houseplant they talked to. Maya came with me. I'm not there to cause trouble, she said as we walked in. You brought pepper spray. That's not trouble, that's preparation. You bought that yesterday. Yes, I'm a responsible adult who panics efficiently. I almost smiled. Almost. Then I saw Daniel. 15 years can change a person. His hair had more gray, his shoulders looked heavier. But the strangest thing was that he still looked like Daniel. The same man who used to dance terribly in the kitchen while making pancakes. The same man who once spent 3 hours building Olivia's toy kitchen and somehow ended up with an extra screw. He blamed the manufacturer. I always knew it was him. Some things never change. He stood when he saw me. Emily. I nodded. Daniel. Awkward. Painfully awkward. Like two strangers pretending they didn't once know exactly how the other person took their coffee. We sat down. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then Daniel looked at me. I'm sorry. I hated that. Not because I didn't want an apology, because I wanted an explanation more. You've had 15 years to say that. I know. So why didn't you? He looked down. Because your mother threatened to make sure I never saw Olivia again. I froze. My mother? No. He shook his head. Your mother-in-law. I stared at him. My mother died when Olivia was 4. I know. Then who? Daniel hesitated, and that hesitation bothered me. Rebecca. His mother. I felt my stomach tighten. Daniel continued. When we separated, my mother found out about a financial problem involving my father's old business. I frowned. What does that have to do with Olivia? Everything, he explained slowly. Years ago, Daniel's father had left behind debts connected to the family business. Daniel had been trying to handle it quietly. When Rebecca discovered how serious it was, she believed the only way to protect Olivia was to keep Daniel away until everything was resolved. She told me if I stayed, creditors could eventually come after anything connected to you and Olivia. I stared at him. And you believed her? His eyes dropped. I was scared. That answer surprised me. Not because it was good, because it was human. I had spent years imagining Daniel as someone who simply didn't care. But sitting across from him, I saw something else. A man who made a terrible decision. A man who thought disappearing was protection. A man who was wrong. You could have told me. I tried. My heart stopped. What? I wrote letters. He looked at me. I wrote dozens. The room felt smaller. Where are they? Daniel swallowed. I don't know. Maya leaned forward. Wait, her voice became serious. You mean someone stopped her from getting them? Daniel nodded. Yes. I looked at him. 15 years of silence. 15 years of believing one person abandoned us. And suddenly I wondered, what if Daniel wasn't the person who left? What if someone made sure he couldn't come back? I went home that night and did something I never thought I would do. I searched for proof that I had been wrong. That felt strange. For 15 years, I collected evidence against Daniel without realizing it. The empty chair at school events. The missed phone calls. The birthdays he wasn't physically there for. Every painful moment became another brick in the wall I built between us. But now I was standing on the other side of that wall, wondering if I had built it around the wrong person. Olivia was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework. Or pretending to. Teenagers have a very specific way of doing homework while also being completely aware of every conversation happening around them. She looked up. Are you okay? I smiled. Why does everyone keep asking me that? Because you keep staring into space like your brain left the room. That's rude. It's accurate. I wanted to laugh, and I did. A little. That was Olivia. Even during emotional disasters, she somehow found a way to remind me that I was still her mother, not a tragic movie character. After she went upstairs, I opened the old cabinet where I kept documents, insurance papers, tax records, old birthday cards, the boring pieces of life nobody cares about until they become important. I found something. An envelope. My name was on it. Daniel's handwriting. My hand started shaking. I opened it. Inside was a letter I had never seen. Emily, I know you don't believe me. I know you think I chose to leave. But I need you to know I never stopped trying to come home. I sat there for a long time, the words blurred, not because I couldn't read them, because I didn't want to. I found another envelope, then another. 3 letters. All unopened, all addressed to me. I called Maya immediately. You were right. She answered half asleep. About what? I'm right about many things. Be specific. Daniel wrote me letters. Silence. Then, oh. That one word carried a lot. Maya came over 20 minutes later wearing slippers and carrying a flashlight. I came prepared. For what? Old house drama. This is how horror movies start. This is not funny. I know. That's why I brought snacks. She helped me search through the cabinet. Then Olivia came downstairs. She looked between us. What are you doing? I hesitated. Then I handed her the letter. She read silently. Her expression changed. Not into anger, into sadness. That was somehow worse. Why didn't you tell me? The question was directed at me, not Daniel. Me. I sat down, because I didn't know. But you never checked. That hurt. Because it was true. I had never checked. I had accepted the version of events that hurt the least. Or maybe the version that hurt in a way I already understood. Olivia folded the letter carefully. Mom, did you ever ask Dad why? I looked down. No. She nodded slowly. Like she had just learned something about me. Not something terrible. Something human. And somehow that made it harder. That night, I searched every drawer, every box, every old file. And at the very bottom of a storage container, I found something that changed everything. A receipt. A certified mail receipt. Signed 15 years ago. The signature wasn't mine, and it wasn't Daniel's. It belonged to Rebecca Carter. Daniel's mother. I stared at Rebecca Carter's signature for so long that the words stopped looking like a name. They became something else. A door. A locked door that had been sitting in my house for 15 years, and somehow I had been the one carrying the key the entire time. Maya looked over my shoulder. Okay. She took a deep breath. I'm going to say something, and you're probably not going to like it. That has never stopped you before. True. She pointed at the receipt. This is not a misunderstanding. I nodded slowly. The certified mail receipt showed that one of Daniel's letters had been delivered to Rebecca's address. Not mine. Not Daniel's old apartment. Rebecca's. And her signature was on it. I don't understand. I whispered. Maya crossed her arms. I think we do understand, we just don't want to say it out loud yet. That was Maya's annoying talent. She could walk into emotional chaos and immediately find the uncomfortable sentence hiding under the table. I called Daniel the next morning. He answered quickly. Emily? Did you send letters to Rebecca? Silence. A long one. Then yes. Why? Because she told me she was helping. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because sometimes your brain chooses laughter when crying feels too obvious. Daniel, your mother had my letters. I know. My chest tightened. You knew? I suspected. Suspected? My voice got louder. You suspected someone was keeping your daughter from you and you just lived with that? He didn't answer. And honestly, that made me angrier. Because for years I had imagined Daniel as careless. But now I was seeing something worse. A man who cared but gave up too easily. I was scared, he finally said. I closed my eyes. I needed you to fight. I know. No, Daniel. You don't. My voice cracked. I spent years explaining to Olivia why her father wasn't around. I know. No, you don't know what it feels like to watch your child wonder if they were worth staying for. Silence. Real silence, not avoidance. Pain. I'm sorry, he said. And that was the first apology from him that didn't make me angry. Because it wasn't defending himself. It wasn't explaining. It was just regret. Later that day, Olivia asked if she could meet Rebecca. I was surprised. You want to see her? Yes. Why? She looked at me. Because everyone keeps talking about what happened to them. She paused. I want to know what happened to me. That was the most 17-year-old answer possible. Not dramatic, not childish, just honest. We arranged the meeting at a quiet cafe. Rebecca arrived exactly on time. Of course she did. Some people are so organized they probably schedule their own emotional breakdowns. She looked older than I remembered, smaller. For a moment, I saw Daniel in her face. Then I remembered the receipt, and the anger came back. Rebecca looked at Olivia. My granddaughter. Olivia didn't smile. Why did you keep my dad's letters? The question hit immediately. No warm-up, no small talk. Rebecca looked down, and for the first time, the woman who always seemed impossible to shake looked afraid. I thought I was protecting you. Olivia frowned. From what? Rebecca looked at me. Then back at Olivia. From losing everything, and that was when she finally told us the truth. Rebecca didn't cry. That surprised me. I expected tears. I expected excuses. I expected the kind of apology people give when they already know they are wrong but still want you to understand why they did it. Instead, she just sat there with both hands wrapped around her coffee cup. Cold coffee. She hadn't taken a single sip. I thought I was protecting Daniel, she said. Olivia leaned forward. You protected him by taking my dad away? Rebecca looked down. No, her voice was quiet. I protected him by making a terrible decision. That was the first honest thing I had heard from her in 15 years. She told us what happened after Daniel left. At the time, Daniel's father's old construction company was collapsing. There were debts, legal problems, people looking for money. Daniel had inherited responsibility for some of it. And he was terrified that if everything fell apart, Emily and Olivia would be dragged into it. He wanted to tell you, Rebecca said. I looked at her. Then why didn't he? Because I told him you would hate him. My jaw tightened. You told him that? Rebecca nodded. I told him you deserved a chance to move on. I almost laughed. Move on. People say that phrase like heartbreak is a suitcase, like you just zip it up, put it in storage, and continue your day. I spent years rebuilding my life around a wound someone else helped create. And the letters? I asked. Rebecca closed her eyes. I kept them. Olivia's face changed. That hurt more than anger. Because my daughter wasn't looking at Rebecca like she hated her. She was looking at her like she was trying to understand how an adult could make such a huge mistake. Why? Rebecca looked at her. Because I was scared. Of what? That if Daniel went back to you before the problems were solved, you would both lose everything. Olivia shook her head. But you didn't even give us the choice. Rebecca had no answer. And that was the first time I saw the weight of what she had done. Not the intention. The result. That's something people forget. Good intentions don't erase damage. You can accidentally break a window. The glass still has to be cleaned. After the meeting, Olivia barely spoke in the car. I kept looking at her through the rearview mirror. Even though she was 17, I still saw the little girl who used to fall asleep holding my finger. Are you okay? She stared out the window. I don't know. That answer broke my heart, because I knew exactly what she meant. She wasn't just dealing with a family secret, she was rebuilding her entire childhood. I thought I knew why Dad wasn't there. I know. Now I don't know what memories are real. I pulled into the driveway and turned off the car. Liv. She looked at me. Some memories are still real because you felt them, even if the story around them changes. She nodded. Then she whispered, I want to talk to Dad. This time, I didn't hesitate. Because for 15 years, I had protected my daughter from a man I thought had left. Now I had to make sure I didn't become the person who kept them apart. That night, Daniel came over. He stood outside our front door for almost a minute before knocking. I watched him through the window. A man who had once lived here. A man who knew where we kept the extra towels. A man who still remembered how Olivia liked her pancakes shaped like animals. A stranger. And somehow, not a stranger at all. Daniel stood at my front door like a man waiting for a verdict. That was the strange thing. 15 years ago, he walked out of this house carrying a suitcase. Now he was standing outside, waiting for permission to come inside. Same person, different life. I opened the door. Hi. That was it, not romantic, not dramatic. Just two people who used to share a mortgage, a child, and a terrible habit of leaving coffee mugs everywhere. He looked past me. Is Olivia here? She's upstairs. He nodded. I stepped aside. For a second, he didn't move. You still have the painting. I followed his eyes. A small painting hung near the stairs. A messy picture of a house with a purple tree. Olivia made it when she was 5. Daniel smiled slightly. She said the tree was purple because normal trees were boring. I almost smiled. She still says things like that. Good. That word hit me. Good. Like he had been hoping some part of her stayed the same. Olivia came downstairs. The moment she saw him, she stopped. Neither of them moved. I had imagined this moment so many times over the years. Usually in my imagination, there was anger, someone crying, someone demanding answers. Instead, there was just silence. The kind of silence where two people are trying to figure out how to speak after missing 15 years. Hi, Dad? Daniel's eyes filled immediately. He looked away for a second. Hi, Liv. She sat on the couch. He sat across from her, and I stood in the kitchen pretending to organize something that was already organized. Because apparently when emotions become too much, I alphabetize spices. Very healthy coping mechanism. You kept my letters? Olivia asked. Daniel nodded. All of them. Why? He looked at his hands. Because they were the only way I could still talk to you. Olivia swallowed. Then why didn't you send them? That question hurt. Because it was the question. The one everyone had been avoiding. Daniel looked at me briefly. Then back at Olivia. Because I was afraid. She frowned. Afraid of what? That I would make things worse, he explained. After leaving, he tried contacting Emily through different channels. But Rebecca kept convincing him to wait until the financial situation was resolved. Then weeks became months. Months became years. And eventually, Daniel became ashamed. Every year I waited, it got harder to come back. Olivia looked down. So you just gave up? Daniel didn't defend himself. That surprised me. Yes. The honesty filled the room. I gave up. My chest tightened. Because that was the part I needed him to admit. Not that he was a monster. Not that he had no choice. That he was human. And humans sometimes make decisions that hurt people even when they believe they are doing the right thing. Olivia wiped her eyes quickly. She hated crying in front of people. She got that from me. Unfortunately. I'm angry at you. Daniel nodded. You should be. But I also missed you. That broke him. He covered his face for a moment. I looked away. Some moments belong only to the people inside them. Later that evening, after Daniel left, Olivia sat beside me on the couch. Mom? Yeah? Are you mad that I want a relationship with him? I looked at my daughter, the girl I had spent 17 years trying to protect. No, I paused. Actually, I think I'm mad that I almost took that chance away from you. She leaned against my shoulder, and for the first time in a long time, the three of us weren't fixing the past. We were just finally telling the truth about it. For the first time in 15 years, Daniel came to Olivia's school event. It was a small thing, a spring art showcase. Not a graduation, not a wedding. Not one of those huge life moments people take pictures of and post online with captions like, I can't believe my baby is grown. Although honestly, parents do that every year. Their child turns 17 and suddenly they become professional historians with 900 photos of someone holding a cupcake. But for Olivia, this small event mattered. She had asked Daniel to come. And Daniel showed up. Early. Of course he did. The man who missed years of moments arrived 40 minutes early and stood outside the school gym holding coffee he didn't drink because he was too nervous. I watched him from across the hallway. It was strange. I used to imagine Daniel walking back into our lives as some dramatic scene. Music, tears, a perfect apology. Real life was different. He was wearing a shirt that was slightly too formal for a school art event and holding a paper cup like it was a legal document. I walked over. You know this isn't a job interview, right? He looked down at himself. I wasn't sure. I laughed. Actually laughed. A real laugh. You're looking at teenagers displaying paintings, not negotiating a merger, he smiled. I forgot how much I don't know about this. That sentence stayed with me, because for years, I thought Daniel didn't care. But maybe he cared so much that he didn't know how to return. That didn't erase the years. It didn't magically fix everything, but it changed the shape of the story. During the event, Olivia showed us her artwork, a painting of 3 people standing under the same tree. The tree was purple, of course it was. I looked at her. You still think normal trees are boring? She smiled. Normal is overrated. Daniel looked at the painting quietly. You used to say that when you were 5. I don't remember. I do. That was the hardest part. Daniel remembered things Olivia had forgotten. The little details. Her first word. The song she hated. The time she tried to cut her own hair because she wanted more personality, she ended up looking like a tiny, confused mushroom. She still denies this. Teenagers are very committed to rewriting embarrassing history. After the event, we sat outside near the school courtyard. Olivia asked questions. Hard ones. Not angry ones. The kind of questions people ask when they actually want to understand. Did you ever hate Mom? Daniel immediately shook his head. No. Even when you thought she hated you? He looked at me, then back at Olivia. No. That surprised me. Why? Because she was raising you. His voice softened. She was tired. She was hurt. She was trying to survive. I looked away. That was difficult to hear. Because Daniel was acknowledging my pain while I was finally acknowledging his. Nobody was the villain. Nobody was completely innocent. We were just people making decisions with incomplete information. Later that night, Olivia found me in the kitchen. You know what's weird? What? I spent years thinking I didn't have a dad. She smiled sadly. Turns out I had one. He was just terrible at finding his way back. I laughed softly. That sounds exactly like him. Then she became serious. Are you okay? I knew what she was really asking. Not about Daniel, about me. I took a breath. I'm learning. And that was the truth. I wasn't forgiving everything overnight. I wasn't pretending 15 years didn't hurt, but I was finally letting go of a story that had kept all of us trapped. I used to think closure meant getting the perfect apology, a sentence, a moment, something dramatic enough to balance all the years I spent hurting. But life rarely gives you those clean endings. Most of the time, closure is quieter. It looks like a father showing up to dinner even though nobody knows what to talk about. It looks like a daughter slowly getting comfortable saying "Dad" without that hesitation. It looks like a mother admitting she was wrong without letting that mistake erase everything she did right. A few months after Olivia found the letter, we had a family dinner. The first real one. Not a holiday. Not a forced gathering where everyone pretended everything was fine while silently judging the turkey, just dinner. Daniel brought dessert, a pie. I looked at it and laughed. What? You brought pie? Yes. You know you're supposed to bring something people actually want, right? He looked offended. I made it? I stared at him. You made it? He nodded. I took a bite. It was terrible, not dangerous, just emotionally confusing. Like eating sweetened cardboard with confidence. I tried not to laugh. Daniel noticed. It's bad? It's not bad. You paused. I was giving it a respectful goodbye. Olivia laughed so hard she almost dropped her fork. And for a moment, something happened that I never thought I would see again. A normal family moment. Not perfect, not repaired, just normal. Later that night, after Daniel left, Olivia sat beside me on the couch. You know what I realized? What? I don't actually know the whole story of anyone. I looked at her. That's a very 17-year-old deep thought. I'm serious. I know. She looked toward the window. I thought Dad was the bad guy because that was easier. I nodded. Yeah. Because if someone is the villain, you don't have to miss them. That sentence stayed with me. Because she was right. Sometimes anger is easier than grief. Anger has energy. Grief just sits quietly and asks you to feel things. The following week, I visited Rebecca. Not because everything was forgiven. It wasn't. Some wounds do not disappear because someone finally explains why they caused them. But I needed to stop carrying the weight of what she did. She looked older, more tired. I know you probably don't forgive me. I sat down. I don't know if I do yet. She nodded. I understand. And that was the first time I respected her. Not because she fixed anything, because she finally stopped trying to justify it. Months later, we sold the old house. The attic was empty. No more boxes, no more hidden letters, no more ghosts pretending to be memories. Before leaving, I stood in that attic one last time. The place where everything changed. I thought about the girl I was 15 years ago. A woman who believed she knew the entire story. I wish I could go back and tell her something. Not to trust everyone. Not to ignore pain. Just this. Leave room for the possibility that you don't know everything. Because sometimes the person you thought abandoned you was also the person who was quietly losing everything too. 6 months later, Olivia graduated. Daniel sat beside me during the ceremony. Not because we were getting back together. We weren't. Some stories don't end with two people finding their way back to each other. Sometimes they end with two people finally learning how to stand in the same room without carrying old anger. When Olivia walked across the stage, Daniel cried. I pretended not to notice. He pretended he wasn't crying. We were both terrible actors. Afterward, Olivia hugged both of us. I'm glad I found that letter. I smiled. So am I. She looked at me. Even though it changed everything? I thought about that. The truth had hurt. It had taken apart a story I had built my life around, but it also gave us something back. A father, a daughter, a chance to stop blaming and start understanding. The letter stayed in a small box at my house. Not hidden. Not forgotten. Just there. A reminder that families are complicated, people are complicated. And sometimes the hardest truth to accept is not that someone hurt you. It's realizing they were hurting too. A year after Olivia found the letter, I realized something strange. The letter that changed our entire family was no longer the thing we talked about the most. And maybe that was the healthiest thing that could happen. Because for a long time that letter was the center of everything. It represented pain, confusion, 15 years of questions, but eventually it became something else. A reminder. Not of what we lost, of what we almost lost forever. Daniel and I never became the couple we were before. I think that's something people misunderstand about forgiveness. Forgiving someone doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It doesn't erase birthdays missed. It doesn't erase years of silence. It doesn't magically rebuild a relationship that was broken for a decade and a half. But forgiveness does mean you stop letting the worst moment of your life control every moment after it. Daniel became a real part of Olivia's life again. Not a perfect father. He still forgot things sometimes. He still sent messages that were way too long. One time he sent Olivia a 5-paragraph explanation about why a certain brand of cereal was healthier. She replied, "Dad, it's breakfast, not a TED Talk." He was offended for exactly 3 minutes. Then he admitted she was right. Some things never change. I also changed. I stopped telling my story like I was the only person who suffered. Because I wasn't. Daniel made mistakes. I made mistakes. Rebecca made mistakes. We were all people trying to survive with incomplete pieces of the truth. The attic was empty now. No more old boxes. No more hidden letters. No more secrets waiting under layers of dust. But sometimes I still think about that morning. The moment Olivia came downstairs holding that wooden box. The moment I thought I was about to discover another reason to hate Daniel. Instead, I discovered something much harder. The truth. And the truth did not make everything easy. It made everything honest. I used to believe families were destroyed by the moments when people walked away. Now I think sometimes families are destroyed by the moments when people stop talking. And sometimes, if you are lucky, one small piece of the past gives everyone a chance to start again.